Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, it is really hot outside and I am in the Highland greenhouse right now. I'm going to be talking about how I keep my greenhouses cool during really hot weather. I guess it's 34 degrees out and 22% humidity. I was just looking at the thermostat or the thermometer in the house just before I came out here, and it's just beastly. So I'm like, I'm gonna go check on my plants and see how they're doing. And I thought you guys might like to see how everything is doing as well. I'm gonna go over a few tips and tricks to keep the greenhouses cool during really hot weather, show you what I do, everything from really basic stuff to a little bit more advanced stuff. In my hand here, I have a nice Nepenthes Vichii lowii. This is a beautiful plant. It's actually a female as well. It bloomed for me this year. So it's looking really good and very happy in here right now. But why don't we, we're gonna take the camera down and I'm gonna give you a tour of all the stuff that helps keep these guys happy and healthy in the greenhouse. All right, so we are out in front of the Cobra Lilies greenhouse now, and I wanted to talk to you about shade cloth. Shade cloth is just the first line of defense when you're trying to block out heat. I use this for most of the year, honestly. Right now we have 50% shade cloth that I'm using here. That is my main go-to shade cloth. I don't like the 25%, I don't like the 70% or the 90s. I find for the most of the time they just block out too much light or don't actually give enough shade cloth to block out enough heat. But the 50% does really well. I love this kind. It is a thick woven material, almost plasticky, not so clothy, and it's basically indestructible. It's easy to cut, but doesn't fray once it's cut, and it lasts forever. It has huge UV durability. I've never actually had a piece wear out. And yeah, so I would look for a good quality shade cloth. As I said, this is 50%. I have another 50% on down for the rest of the greenhouse here. And despite your math, 50% and 50% doesn't equal 100%. It actually equals 75% shade cloth. So on most of this greenhouse here, we have 75% shade cloth shading the Cobra Lilies. They don't like the heat at all. So that is one of the best ways to quickly cool your greenhouse. I have it with clips on the eaves and then it's anchored at the back quite tightly. But the clips here just really help. And unless it's very windy, I just double up the clips like right here. And it doesn't really blow anywhere. I'm here most of the time anyways to see if it does move a little bit. If you don't have shade cloth, you can also use a whitewash to paint over your greenhouse, to paint over a polycarbonate part of the greenhouse that blocks off a lot of the sun as well. I don't find the whitewashing, I find this is just so much quicker and easier, and I can take it down on cold days or cloudy days and put it back up when it's needed. So shade cloth, #1 defense against heat. All right, now we are behind the Highland greenhouse, a spot that you definitely have not seen before. We have some water reservoirs back there. We have several of these on the property, but that's not why we're here today. We are here for this swamp cooler. So if you haven't heard of a swamp cooler or an evaporative cooler, that is what these are. And it's quite big. It's like a 3x3 or a 4x4 box. And what it is actually it's got a big fan inside and then pads on this side here and on 3 sides of it where water comes down over the pads, and as the air gets sucked in, it gets cooled. So I'm gonna open this one up here and we can have a look and see what it looks like on the inside. So as you can see here, there's where the pump is actually, like the water would be dripping down over the pads, and a big huge barrel fan is in there that pumps water into pumps the air into the greenhouse. So the greenhouse air exchange is vast. It's huge on these days where there's constantly cool, humid air being pumped in. And one of the other good things about the swamp cooler or the evaporative cooler is it actually puts in humid air. As I might have mentioned earlier, it's really hot today. It's like 34 degrees when I last looked, but the humidity is 22% outside. So on days like this, it really helps make a humid, buoyant, light area environment inside the greenhouse. All right, I have brought you inside for an inside look at this swamp cooler. That big thing outside only actually is a small unit inside, but man, it's blowing in here. We're really testing my microphone for wind resistance. I'm not sure if it's gonna work or not. You can see from this, it's like almost like hurricane force winds coming out of here. It's really insane, blowing my ears, stuff like that. So the air comes in. This piece I made up to deflect the wind upwards because it was blowing just along the floor and I wanted to mix a little better. This piece here, when the unit's not on, falls back down and allows some closure for the vents. But yes, it's blowing. It feels really cold. It is blowing in and it goes all the way down to the other end of the 32-foot greenhouse. Okay, down on the other end of the greenhouse, just some basic stuff. Not quite as technical as the swamp cooler. We sort of jumped to a little bit more technical thing there. But fans themselves, any kind of moving air, is definitely going to keep your greenhouse cool. It's going to force the heat off the leaves of the plants almost and stop them from burning. Right below you, you're not going to be able to see it right now. You might be able to hear it. Again, I'm testing my new mic really well here. We have a swamp, or we have a hydrofogger going beneath you, and it's bringing up a whole bunch of cool mist. Doesn't work so well for cooling, but the mist will still help. The last thing that runs the whole length of the greenhouse is our misting system, which is on a cycle timer and comes on and off. And I'm just going to go over and hit the cycle timer now so you can see what the mist is like. So I'm not sure I can even see this on camera. It's actually above the shade cloth. It comes out and it blows down. The camera might be getting speckled with mist now, but it runs the entire length of the path. The goal is not to soak your plants, but it is to cool the air. So I want as much hang time with the mist as possible in the air. Smaller particles make it actually cool down more, but we have it so it mists the aisles. It misses the plants because we don't want rot, we don't want constantly wet plants, but we want that cool air in here. So a misting system, especially nowadays, is actually a pretty cheap way to get some cooling in your greenhouse. All right, and one of my favorites, I have in the past made so many videos about this, but they're just so easy to get. Oops, my door is gonna open on me. They're just so easy to get and so affordable these days, is just simple air conditioners. They produce a ton of cold air. You have to vent it outside because it's so warm. And me having the door open beside it is not helping because it brings the warm air back in. But I have done videos in the past of air conditioner alterations even, where you can affect the actual temperature of cooling to get it to drop for really high line temperatures. You'd have to search back on some old videos for those ones. But air conditioners I still use as one of the main ways to cool down a greenhouse. Cold blowing air out. The only thing you will find with air conditioners is it does dry the air as it comes out. It's sucking all the moisture out, as the opposite of a swamp cooler. It gives you nice cool conditions in here, and it really helps keep things under control. So for $100 or $150 Canadian, if you're able to mount one of these things in your greenhouse, it's not as cost efficient as a swamp cooler, but man, they work well, and I have used them for many years in cooling situations in greenhouses. All right, outside, here is another cooling method that we have installed in all the greenhouses. It's fans. Small greenhouses like this have small fans that vent out. Big greenhouses like our biggest greenhouse have great big fans that are more like this size that vent out. And instead of cooling from the inside, we are just gonna draw colder air in. This greenhouse loves to be hot. It doesn't even have shade cloth on right now, but I'm still venting out some really hot air. It's hot blowing on my hands and head here, but it's a good way to keep it cool, but you're not able to keep it as cool. Not as like a swamp cooler and air conditioner, but it's still one of the best and cheapest ways to vent your greenhouse. All right, a less fun shot of the greenhouse, but here is one of my Inkbird controllers. These are the Wi-Fi controllers. You can get them off Amazon. And I don't know if you can hear it right now. You probably can. There is a temperature alarm going off in here. It's set, I don't even know what it's set for, but on hot days it goes off for half the afternoon. But yes, it's one of those ways as well that you can control your temperature. A little bit more passive, but I get an alarm on my phone every time this thing goes off. So when it starts to go off for the day, I get an alarm that this greenhouse has reached its temperature and it's time to come cool it. So I have automated systems in check for this, but it's still on a day like today not keeping it cool enough with the warm air venting in. But it's definitely one of those ways to make sure you can keep your greenhouse cooler. And this also does control fans as well as heaters and stuff like that. It does a hot and cold sort of cycle depending on what you've got it set for. Cooling in the summer, heating in the winter. But anyways, that's one more tip to cool the greenhouse. And I think I'm going to give you my final tip next, and then we will be done here. All right, so the last piece of advice there is, if you can't beat the heat, move your plants out of the heat. Now these are some palm trees that I just repotted yesterday. I had them laying out in the middle of the yard, and these guys love sun. So this is just sort of more of an example, but they're out cooking in the sun in black pots, and it's 34 degrees, and the pots are probably like 50 degrees inside because they're black. So I didn't want the leaves to burn. So in this case, they just, I simply put them in the wagon and moved them into the shade for the afternoon. So if your greenhouse is really getting that hot, it's time to move your plants out of the greenhouse as a last resort. So anyways, we have covered a ton in this video of how I cool my greenhouses, from swamp coolers to shade cloth, to air conditioning, to fans, timers, and even just getting it out of there, and misting systems, and just moving everything to the shade. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And one final update here, finishing the video. We have gone up another degrees since I started filming this video, and gone down 2 more percentage in humidity. We have really low humidity here in the summertime. Anyways, thanks again for watching.